if you play CSGO, one of the worst things you can do is just play with the default config. So today I'm going to do a full-on guide on how to fully customize it to suit your personality and your playstyle. Not only does it make your experience better, but it might actually make you play better too. All right, let's jump into it, boys. Alright guys, so we're going to start off on the desktop. So before we hop in game, there's a couple settings we do need to change in the NVIDIA control panel. So if you have an NVIDIA card, just right click on the desktop and then click on NVIDIA control panel. If you have an AMD card, I'm sure there's, I've never had an AMD graphics card before, so I don't really know the setup for that. But I'm assuming it's probably similar. But anyways, first of all, you want to go to adjust image settings with preview. You want to put it on use my preference, emphasizing, and you want to put it on performance. And then next up, you want to go to manage 3D settings. And there's a couple things that you do want to turn on. So for texture filtering, normally it's on quality, but if you want to get the best performance, you got to put it on either performance or high performance. And then for low latency mode, normally it's off, and you want to turn it on, or you can put it on ultra too. But for CSGO, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's more for more GPU-based games. All right, and then next up, you want to go to adjust desktop color settings, this option right here, and you want to put digital vibrance up to 80%. And this will pretty much increase the saturation of the colors, which makes everything pop way better. It can actually make it easier to spot enemies because the colors are just that much more vibrant. This next one is optional. You want to go to adjust desktop size and position. And if you do want to play in a 4:3 or a 16:10 resolution stretched, you want to go from aspect ratio to full screen. That's pretty much it. And then you can go in game and change your resolution to a 4:3 resolution, and it'll automatically stretch it to the full size of your monitor. But guys, I still have so much to cover, so let's get back to it. All right, so guys, now we're going to get into some really useful launch options. Basically, to go to launch options, all you have to do is right click on CSGO, go to properties, and then you just go to general, and it's right down here on the new overlay. It looks a little bit different compared to like before, but it's pretty much the same. So the first one is obviously if you have a higher refresh rate monitor, you can do dash refresh, and then I have a 240 hertz monitor, so I do 240. If your monitor is only 144 hertz, then you could just do 144. If you want to basically start up a game and have it automatically be 128 tick, then you do dash tick rate 128. The next one is dash high. This will basically increase the priority of the game on your CPU, so it'll use more of your CPU, which if you have a good CPU, it'll give you more frames. But if you have a lot of issues when running this, then just get rid of it. And then also dash no vid basically skips the intro at the beginning of the game, so it saves you a little bit of time. So those are the launch options that I personally use. All right guys, now we're in game, so we're going to be doing the best settings in CSGO to basically get the best performance. So basically when it comes to resolution and all that, you can just do whatever you want. I prefer to play like 1920 by 1080 native resolution, just because if you compare it to stretched, like the biggest downside to stretch is it severely reduces your FOV, so you won't be able to see as much. So if you play 1920 by 1080, you'll be able to have more peripheral vision. But for example, if you do want to play stretched, basically do the NVIDIA settings I talked about earlier, then go to normal 4:3, and then you can do pretty much any resolution you want. 1280 by 960 and 1280 by 1024 are the most common for stretched, so you can use either one of those resolutions. But I prefer to stick to 1080p. And then for display mode, especially if you play on a high refresh rate monitor, I would highly recommend putting this on full screen because, I don't know, full screen window just adds a little bit of latency from my experience. All right, so the two settings that you absolutely want to have on high are global shadow quality and shader detail. So these will pretty much help you with seeing enemy shadows as well as lining up stuff with shadows on the ground. For example, there's actually a lot of smokes that require you to be able to see shadows. So if you want to do those smokes, you have to have these on high and very high. Effect detail, you can actually turn it down just a little bit to save performance. And then model/texture detail, you can turn this down all the way if you want, but if you have it on high, things will look a lot better. Boost player contrast, I would definitely recommend having this on just because it makes it easier to spot enemies. And then you want to keep multi-core rendering on. As for multi-sampling, anti-aliasing, like as long as you have a good graphics card, you can just put this on whatever you want. But if you notice that your frame rate is pretty bad, you can turn it down to 4, 2, or you can even just turn it off altogether. For texture filtering mode, now trilinear or bilinear is the way to go for performance. But if you want the game to look really crisp, you can do 8 or 16 times anisotropic filtering. Oh, and then motion blur, if you have this on.
Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
So turn that off, please. And that's pretty much it for the settings. All right, guys, so I have a couple different maps and I will include the links in the description down below. But first of all, guys, we're going to hop into the config generator. All right, so first of all, let's go over some binds. So there's some really useful binds that can definitely help you with the game. So first of all, jump throwing. What is jump throwing? Basically, if you want to jump throw, like normally a lot of people just try to they try to click and press the spacebar at the exact same time, but the timing it's really hard to get it perfect. So if you really want to make incredibly consistent jump throws where your smoke goes in the same place every single time, you have to bind it to a certain key. And what I usually do is I bind it to V. So I basically press V and spacebar every time I want to jump throw. So I'll kind of explain it to you. So all you have to do is just you left click, and then while you're left clicking, you press V and spacebar at the same time, and it automatically throws it. And if you have it set up like this, it'll always land in the same spot every single time. So this can be really good for cross map smokes that require precision. Next up, you also want to do a clear decals key as well. For this one, I use mouse 3 personally, and then you just confirm it. For example, if you shoot an enemy and then you shoot the ground, and you want to get rid of all the decals on the ground because it can be kind of in the way. Like for example, like if we're trying to look at an enemy and there's stuff behind him, it can be a little bit more difficult to actually see him from a long distance. So you can actually just press scroll wheel and it'll get rid of all of it, which is really cool. And then of course you also want to, if you want to be able to b-hop and you want to just jump around and be a gamer, you also want to turn on jump on scroll. So this will pretty much make it so when you scroll up or down, it'll make you jump. The map also does have a bunch of preset configs. So if you want to use, for example, if you want to use Nico's config, you can do that. Oh my God, I just did it. How do I go back? Oh no. I pretty much just switched to Nico's config. So right now we have his crosshair and we have pretty much all of his settings. This map also does have crosshair and Viewmodel settings, but I wouldn't really recommend using these ones. There's two maps that are, in my opinion, way better than this. So we're going to skip these for now and then we'll go straight to HUD. So for HUD, you can make it pretty much any color you want. So I'm just going to make it, let's just make it, I don't know, red, because red's pretty cool. You can also change the scale, you can change the gap, you can change like the transparency. For score positioning, I usually like to put it on the bottom, and also I like to put on team numbers because normally it shows everyone's profile picture and you kind of have to do the math to figure out how many people are alive. But if you do team numbers, it literally just shows a number. So it's a little bit easier to figure it out. Then moving on to radar, the normal radar looks something like this, and it's really not that useful. You can only see people that are really close to you. So the best way to fix it is to basically make it a little bit bigger, and then you want to zoom it out, not all the way, but you want to zoom it out a decent amount, and then you want to put centered off. Essentially, you want to be able to see the entire map on your radar at any given time. So for example, if your teammates are rushing B and they spot someone on B, you'll be able to actually see the person over there. And then alternatively, if your teammates are over by long and they spot someone, you'll see them there as well. So it pretty much gives you full map awareness based on your teammates' positioning. That's pretty much it for the config generator. Let's move on to the next map. And we're going to be hopping on the Crosshair Generator now. So essentially the main benefit of this map is basically every single pro has their crosshair right here. Like there's an entire wall of crosshairs. So if you like any of them, you can go ahead and try them out. And then there's a couple targets over here that you can shoot to figure out if you like it or not. But personally, I actually like to use Cirque's crosshair or RPK. They pretty much use the exact same crosshair. And then you can also fully customize it based on all these styles. So there's style 0, there's style 1, style 2, style 3, style 4, like style 4 is just, it's basically just static, and then style 5, which is classic hybrid. I personally like style 4, and then, well, I usually just go with the preset ones because it's a lot easier. But if you don't really like the color, you can just change it to any of these colors you want. You can even make it black, which isn't really that useful because, you know, in some situations, it might not be as visible as you'd like it to be. So I prefer to go with like, you know, red is cool, green is good, blue can be useful as long as you're not looking at the sky. Like just whatever you personally prefer. Because at the end of the day, your crosshair and your config and all this stuff, it all comes down to personal preference, and everybody, you know, everybody likes different things. Like if you want to use a dot crosshair, you can go ahead and use yourself a dot crosshair. There we go. We got Art's dot crosshair right here, dude. Look at this flex. We can also use this giant crosshair right here, which I guess it's kind of cool, but it's a little too big in my opinion. Anyways, guys, let's move on to the final map. And there we go. Now we're going to hop on Crash's Viewmodel Generator. And you can pretty much set this up any way you want, but if you guys are curious about my view model, I use M7s, and then I turn the view model movement on the absolute lowest. Because in my opinion, if you have it on high, or if you have your view model move at all, I don't know, I feel like subconsciously it makes aiming just a little more inconsistent, because like, I don't know, you're watching your gun just bob around and like, I don't know, like, when it's more smooth like this, like I'm just more able to like stay on target and I'm able to be more precise. You can also try any of these other crosshairs. Like you can use the gangster one, and a really funny crosshair, a really funny view model to use is use the gangster one and then move it all the way to the left and then move it down just a little bit. And essentially you can almost aim down sights like you're playing Call of Duty. It's kind of funny. Also, you can use the Quake one too if you'd rather have it be out of the way, or you can use 3Clicks Phillips one and it's really out of the way. But if you want to actually inspect your skins, it's not really that good. So M7, in my opinion, is the best for inspecting, and that's why I use it. And for anybody who watched the video all the way until this point, I have a secret for you guys, all right? What if I told you that I have a couple commands that if you have a stable and good internet connection where you don't drop frames, what if I told you that you can make the game twice as responsive? You can basically make your aim way better just by changing a couple network settings that are really easy to change. So basically all you have to do is just go to the console and then type in CL_interp 0 and then CL_interp ratio 1. That's pretty much all you have to do. You just have to do these two commands right here and it'll make the game pretty much twice as responsive, at least on 64-tick servers, but you have to have a really solid Ethernet connection where you don't have any packet loss whatsoever, because if you have any connection issues, this can make it way more difficult to aim. So if you have issues with it, then feel free to turn it back to default. Just keep in mind though, every time you restart the game, you have to enter the command every single time. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. It was a little bit of it was a longer video than usual, but I wanted to include everything that I know about how to set up the ultimate config, how to set up the best settings, how to just overall make CSGO a better game to play. And if this video was helpful, make sure to click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember, I do upload videos every single Friday, so check the channel every single Friday for new content. Oh, by the way, guys, if we do hit 2,000 likes within the first 7 days, I am going to be giving away an M41S Chentique Ghost Fire. So good luck, guys. Overall, guys, have fun playing some CSGO. Hopefully you guys can make your ultimate dream config, and let me know in the comments down below, like, what does your config look like? Like, what kind of crosshair do you use? What kind of like view model do you have? Like, what kind of settings do you use? Because I'm kind of curious, because I do read all the comments. But anyways, guys, let's wrap up the video here because it's been going on for a little bit too long. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to stay safe. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. It's Turbo, and I'm out. See you guys next Friday. Peace.